going to talk about the Gilman Scholarship today. I'll start by saying I'm Allie Garfinkel. I'm one of the advisors in the PCC Study Abroad office. So thank you for giving some of your Friday afternoon. And the Gilman Scholarship is a very specific study abroad scholarship. And so the fact that you're here participating in this, I think is awesome because this is sort of the largest scholarship that we're aware of, and it is specific to study abroad. And excuse me, students can earn up to $5,000 for a summer study abroad. There are generally two cycles for this scholarship, and we'll go through, I'm just going to go through the slides that Gilman has provided for this. But right now I'll just start with an overview. Because I've been working with the scholarship for a really long time. There's generally two cycles, one in October and then another in March. The nice thing but by applying for the October cycle is that so the deadline for the October cycle is October 3rd. If you apply for this cycle and you are awarded a Gilman, you know by December that you have money for your summer study abroad. And that is really unique when it comes to a scholarship and the way the scholarship timelines work. Generally, the scholarships are something you apply for sort of simultaneously to applying for a study abroad program, but you don't always know you get money until you've already had to put money down to reserve your spot on the study abroad program. And so this timeline for a scholarship can be awkward at best, and that's really challenging when you're trying to create a budget and decide how to fund a study abroad experience. So applying for this scholarship, while it might feel rather rushed for you, I actually think you all have the next few weeks to work on this, and we're happy to help you with that and go over your essays with you. So while it might feel rushed and it may be a relief to hear that you have a March deadline, I highly, highly encourage you to apply for the October deadline. The other reason for that is that the Gilman Scholarship does come from the State Department. And as you may have heard, there are some cuts happening in the State Department these days. We have this funding for the October cycle. It comes from the 2025 cycle of funding, and funds have been allocated for this. However, we don't know that there will be money in 2026. So while we are saying that there is a March cycle, we just don't know that money will be allocated to that. And so there's no guarantee that there will actually be a March cycle. And we won't know that until January. So I can't recommend, I can't more strongly recommend that you actually do this application than there's no way I can say more strongly that students should apply for this. So let's get into the scholarship a little bit. Like I said, it is meant for undergrads who are looking to study abroad. They can earn up to $5,000. That's very exciting. We'll give you a little snapshot here. You do need to be receiving a Pell Grant or planning on receiving a Pell Grant to be eligible for this scholarship. They look at priorities do include being a first generation college student. You can read some of the snapshot of kind of who Gilman scholars are. I will say that going to a community college, if you are first generation, there are things you can put into your essays that are more priorities, that are ways to show kind of who you are as a person. They really try. So the way it works is that study abroad advisors, much like myself, serve as readers. And there are students apply for the Gilman, and then readers like me read a stack of essays and read through your application and submit the answers, or not submit the answers, but sort of review and decide who will be the winners of the scholarship. And they try to vary them by states across the nation and as well as destinations around the world. So if you're applying to, if your thoughts of going to study abroad for a place that might be a little bit more unique, then you do have a higher chance of being awarded this scholarship. It is competitive, but it is also the kind of scholarship where more than one PCC student can receive the scholarship. And if you put together a solid application, then you have a good chance. Are there questions about kind of who Gilman scholars are or any of the what I've said so far? Okay, I'll keep going. So essentially, you do need to be going on a credit-bearing study abroad. You don't get to just use Gilman to go travel. There are some supplemental essays or supplemental scholarship opportunities. If you're applying for a program that involves a language study or a STEM program, um, and the other is if you're an dependent of an active duty military. Those are sort of three other categories of scholarships within the Gilman that we can chat about. Um, and it is it's an extra scholarship sort of within the Gilman. You do on the back end, once you return from studying abroad, you have a follow-on service project. And that's just to spread the word about study abroad or Gilman. And it's pretty unique. We'll talk about it a little bit more specifically because there is a question within the essays asked that gets into what you might do when you come back for your follow-on project. Obviously, there's some great benefits in addition to just getting the scholarship. There's a great alumni network, and there's different events. You can be an ambassador. There's a whole like kind of comes from the State Department. I'm not entirely very confident about it, but there's the Scholar Network does involve some job opportunities. So especially if you're looking to get into some government work, there are ways to connect with other Gilman alumni. It looks great on your resume or your LinkedIn. It's seen up there as like a Fulbright or a very high achieving scholarship. So it's a great thing to have under your belt to say that you were awarded a Gilman. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about where it comes from. This is a State Department through the Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs. It was set up 25 years ago from an old senator who was really proactive in advocating for cultural awareness and getting to know each other. And so that all students should have the opportunity to intern or study abroad despite financial means. And so the scholarship was set up really to encourage students who normally can't afford to study abroad to be able to study abroad. So it's an awesome scholarship. We've been working with it for years and years. I really should compile the number of PCC students who've been awarded Gilmans because it's getting to be a big number, and that's really exciting. So there is different pieces, as I said, within the Gilman. The main Gilman is the Pell Grant recipients. You can earn basically only one Gilman in your life. So if you're thinking that you might actually study abroad for a semester or a year, and that this might just be your first dip in the water of studying abroad, and you want to wait to apply for a larger one, then I understand that. But earning $5,000 or anywhere from 3 to 5 is what we see for summer. That is a good chunk to be added to your funding sources for this. So I recommend it's just a great scholarship. There are the three different sort of supplemental pieces that I mentioned. Critical need language award, depending on what language you're studying. We do have a Japanese language program for next summer. So if that's the program you're looking into, the Critical Need Language Award you would be able to apply for that supplemental award. STEM field coursework. If you are applying for the Costa Rica trip, the biology and environmental science trip that we're having in 2026, you can apply for the supplemental STEM award for that. And as I mentioned, if you are a dependent of an active military personnel, you can apply for the Gilman McCain program. And that is another great option for you. So you are eligible if you are a US citizen, if you're an undergraduate student receiving a Pell Grant, going on a credit-bearing class, and all of our programs are. The travel advisory should be a level 1 or 2, and that is based on what the State Department deems as how they look at what's happening in each country. And so we take a look at that, and we'll work with you on that. It's more, it needs to be when you leave. So sometimes there's an incident or a little bit of unrest in a country and they change the levels of the travel advisory. So we just keep an eye on that and work with students on that. Um, I talked a little bit about the Gilman McCain eligibility. I didn't mention this, but receiving Title IV federal funds for that. You can see the languages here if you want to do the supplemental language. And for the STEM supplemental award, it's doing any kind of STEM related coursework. And certainly this falls for our Costa Rica, the biology, environmental science class for next summer. This falls into that category as well. So there is an online application. Let's talk a little bit about this. We are happy to send out, it's on our website, and we're happy to send it out to you as well. It's an online application. Some of the questions are a little bit complicated because most schools are not community colleges, right? So the application is meant to cover the base of all students who might be applying. And so some of the questions get a little bit funny. So we have a guide that is kind of takes you through each of the questions and what to do. And so we're happy to work with you on any questions you have about the online application. Sometimes a student just says, hey, can I just bring my laptop and come sit in your office and fill this out? That's totally fine. We have a nice table. We have some computers. You're welcome to come into our office. We're located in Cascade at Cascade Campus 116 Terrell Hall. You certainly don't have to do this, but we've had some students who just feel better like being able to say, hey, what about this question? And we're right there to answer. So you're welcome to do that. So there's an online part of the kind of your online profile. You have 4 different essays that we're going to talk about in a minute. You do need to send in unofficial transcripts, which you can send in. You can download those from your MyPCC. And you're going to choose 2 advisors, a study abroad advisor and a financial aid advisor. And I will be your study abroad advisor, and Melinda Leva is your financial aid advisor. And then what happens is you submit all of your application materials, and our advisor deadline is about a week later. So 1 week later, we need to go in and verify, and we verify that your program information is correct, that you're in good academic standing, and the financial aid advisor verifies that you are receiving a Pell Grant. So we're happy to kind of walk you through all of that. And of course, we will certify your applications without any problem because that's what we do. Any questions so far? All right, well, let's get into,
Hi,
oh,
sorry, I had one question.
sure.
My name's Ryan Akeley. I'm sitting in with Annie because we live in the same household. But I just had a question about the eligibility for someone who is not I'm interested in the Berlin New Media Arts study
Okay,
abroad opportunity.
great.
I'm not taking I'm not involved in a program that requires that class as a part of the program. I do, on the other hand, have a open general education arts and letters, which needs to be filled, and new media arts does fall into that category. Does that
Okay.
I still have eligibility in that case?
Absolutely. Yeah. As long as you are receiving a Pell Grant,
Hmm.
you are eligible to apply for the scholarship. Now, what your job is going to do, tell me your name again, Ryan.
Ryan Akeley.
Ryan. Okay, great. I'm really glad that you two are in this together. That's awesome. Thank you. What you'll need to do is in these different essays, so these are the four different essays. And what you will need to do, I wonder if I can move my box. Do you see that when I move? Can you see
Uh,
that or did you see that I made a move on the screen or no? Sometimes, never mind.
oh yeah, yes.
Okay. Wanted to make sure I'm not covering the words. Um, So, with these four different essays, what you will want to do is just really clearly cover, probably in your essay number one and essay number two, you will want to describe why you want to go to Berlin and how, and the connection. You're going to want to create a connection between what you will study in Berlin and what you want to study academically or what you're studying academically or what you want to do in your career. And it's got to be a little bit more than this class looks cool, or I've always wanted to go to Germany, or this class fills like a gen ed requirement for me. So you want to really clearly say, I'm looking at the arts because of this, or I want to. And so it's making that very clear connection that this particular study abroad program will move you to another level in your academics or your career pursuits. Does that make sense?
Definitely. Thank you. That's a great explanation and that's
Okay.
great.
Okay, good. Um, we're going to talk about all of these essays, but I want to show you that it's sort of four short essays um, that are required. Now, if you have previously looked into the Gilman, you'll say, huh, I thought it was just three essays. This looks slightly different. Um, I will just be totally straight with all of you to say that this is the first time Gilman has made a change in a number of years. They what they did is there was a called a personal statement, and that was essentially questions one and two, and they broke it into two questions. Um, so this is a new change, and it's why I wanted primarily just to show you um, the slides that Gilman has put together. But what I want to do is, I think maybe what we'll do is I'm going to go to a different screen. Are you all able to see this? That I'm moving around um, my screen? Can you see that I'm changing my screen?
No, I don't think so.
No? Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. No. Okay, I'm going to change to this screen. Okay. Did that change it?
Yeah, that changed it.
Okay, cool. So what I did is I went to, this is the Gilman website, and I'm going to scroll up just so you can see what it looks like. So this is the essay area of the Gilman Scholarship. And so it's just gilmanscholarship.org. And then you can play around. And I found it from going to this applicant tab. And then I scrolled to essays. Okay. So this is the essay tab. Their website, frankly, is awesome. And this website has everything you need to know to do well. So make sure when you're composing your essays that you do what they say here. I would draft your essays in a word processing program, use Times New Roman 12-point font, and do 500 word limit for each essays. And then what I'm going to do is scroll down because they really explain each essay and they explain the question prompts that they want you to look at. So the first essay is called Motivations for Studying Abroad. And you really need to clearly answer these two questions, which is, or which are, make the case for why a global academic or professional experience would contribute to your future academic or career goals. And number two, why did you select your specific program or internship? I mean, none of our programs are internships, so you can ignore that part. Why did you select that specific program and host country? And you want to make sure that you're answering both of those questions. Okay. The second question is knowledge and skill development through studying abroad. And then these are the two essay prompts that they want you to answer. It says, please describe specific examples in which your knowledge, skills, or experiences, and these can be academic, professional, extracurricular, volunteer, etc., that these experiences have equipped you to effectively adapt and succeed in your host country. So they want to know what you've done that will make you be successful. This could be an area where maybe if you got to college and you struggled a little bit and you learned from that and you learned how to be successful, this could be a good place for that. Or what you've learned maybe through a job to learn what you really want to do and why you'll be successful. So then the second prompt is, what specific knowledge and skill do you hope to develop through your experience abroad? Now, this is a tricky question because in some ways, we're asking you to explain something that you don't know, right? We're saying, well, you don't know how you're going to change. You don't know what you're going to learn, but it's what you hope to learn. And so this could be like, Ryan, for you specifically, are you looking to get a better glimpse of, are you wanting to go into social media or marketing? So you want to see how Berlin takes on this media. What I would do for this question is I would look specifically at each of our program web pages. Now, I think we are making them live either today or early next week. So there will be a lot more detail than has been on our website. I think it's just been a list of the classes so far, but we will have like highlights of what you're doing in each class. This is where you want to do a little bit of research, maybe even reaching out to the instructor for the class to say, hey, tell me about some of the trips we're going to be taking. Tell me something about the class that I don't see on the web. Because what you want to do is take something very specific about the course and connect it to what you hope to get. What is your experience? How is this going to help launch you in your career, in your academics, that kind of thing? Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Definitely.
Okay. Am I still sharing my screen? Or did I stop sharing my screen?
Looks like you are.
Okay, are you seeing the Gilman webpage? I still don't know Zoom after all these years. It's so silly. Okay, so let's see. Let's go to the next. Any questions about the first two essays? They sort of lump these into the first two essays. What do they call them? The statement of purpose essays are the first two essays, and they call the second two essays representing America abroad and hometown impact essays. Wow. We'll just leave it at that. Okay, so those are we're going to talk now about essay 3 and 4. This is what they call the Gilman Scholar as Citizen Diplomat essay. So this used to be called Mutual Understanding essay. This has always been a little bit awkward in my mind because most of our programs are, between 2 and 4 weeks. So you're, what are you, you're not going to be embedded in a community where you can this will be impactful for you, but we're not asking you to change the lives of the people you're coming across in the 2 weeks that you're in a place, right? We are realistic. So this is an interesting way to frame this. This is a little bit new, so we're all just getting used to it. There is one specific new thing with this, and that is we need to keep in mind that this is a State Department program. So everything done in the State Department reflects the priorities of the State Department. So one of the pieces of this new year is that they're saying they're holding this 250th anniversary of the United States. So this is part of the question. So the question that you need to answer for this one, for this essay number 3, is describe your plans and strategies for engaging your host community and showcasing what it means to be American. Articulate any specific plans that involve showcasing America's 250th anniversary while you are in your host country. So I just attended a meeting on Tuesday to learn, like a Gilman advisors meeting, to learn a little bit about this. And the way it was described that they see this question is thinking about how you might show a meaningful connection within your host community. So it could be taking a look at the itinerary or some of the highlights that your trip is going on, where you might be engaging in the locals. And I think learning more about their history, learning about the connections that we have. And when it comes to, I think you want to include a mention of showcasing America's 250th anniversary. And that do that through, I guess there are these events. It's going to be like a year long with different events that states are having, that the overall nation is having, where they showcase things like community service, volunteerism, strong community connections. And so those are the kinds of things that you want to lean on, that you will be showcasing. So this is an interesting one. I'm just going to be frank. And I'm happy to answer any questions that people have about this one. I know it's a little bit open-ended, even when our advisors, there were a lot of advisors asking very specific questions about this. And the Gilman folks were sort of like, well, it's kind of open-ended. You know what? They suggested we look, there's a link from the Gilman website of this 250th anniversary to get ideas. I think even just mentioning it in your essay to say, you know, we'll be attending these different kind of events. We're going to be volunteering, which shows, you know, how that we are this is how we're celebrating what it means to be 250 years in America. Are there questions about this? I know it's an interesting piece here. Okay, well, we'll go on to essay number 4. Essay 4 is contributions to U.S. communities and follow-on service project proposal. So this has been around for many years, and the idea is that once you return from studying abroad, you do a project within the first 6 months of being back that highlights either the Gilman Scholarship or the idea of studying abroad in general. And so you want to answer these 3 questions. How do you plan to leverage and share the knowledge and skills you gained overseas when you return? The second question, how will you raise awareness of the value of study abroad and highlight the support available through the Gilman program? And number 3, who is the primary audience for your follow-on service project and why have you selected them? So I always encourage students to think about things in your life right now that you already do. Are you active in a club on campus or your church or synagogue or mosque? Are you close with a high school teacher that you engaged with or a counselor at your high school? is there something active in your community that you do? Or do you write for a newspaper? Or do you have a vlog or a high social media presence? Any of those things that you're already doing, you can weave in to talk about your study abroad experience. Now, remember, you're talking about a 500-word essay about something you will do when you get back. So doesn't need to be this whole crazy thing that is not really going to work or won't really be possible. You want it to be a feasible project. And when you're doing something that's already in your wheelhouse, it's just easier for you to explain it and you will know who your audience is. So, for example, if you're involved with a department on campus or a club on campus, you are going to then be promoting study abroad and the Gilman Scholarship to the people within that club. And you can say why, because you're already a member of that club and there are people who are watching you go through this experience and watching you prepare to study abroad. They're going to be engaged in what you're doing and engaged when you get back. So it could be, I'm going to share pictures at my club meeting, or it could be, I'm going to um, make a short video and put it on my vlog, and share that with my thousands of followers. It might be, I'm going back to the high school for their alumni day, and I'm going to show people pictures of my trip. So it's something that you're already doing that will be easy for you to set up. And the more specific you can be about your plan, the better. So, for example, if you're going back to the high school, maybe reach out to that teacher and say, hey, I'm planning this trip. I'd love to come back once I get back and share this with the students. Could I do that? Is there a day where I could come on campus? And that your teacher may say, oh, yeah, alumni day is this day. Or, yes, I'm teaching this class and you can come on this day. And then you conclude some of those details in your essays. So I'm happy to kind of talk through with you if you have ideas, and if you have no idea, if none of this rings true for you and you're like, what should I do? I will say we have a very small office and we are always looking for help. So your answer might be, my advisor Allie Garfinkel told me that they need help and they need photos and they need students to help spread the word. So I go to Southeast campus where they don't have a big presence and they'd like me to do some tabling for them. It's that there are always things that you can do and you and I can work together. Maybe marketing is not your thing, but you're happy to share pictures and write up a short paragraph for our website. Great. We can definitely come up with ideas for you if you need to um, if you need to brainstorm a little bit. We're happy to do that. Okay. Questions about that? I'm going to stop sharing for a minute if I can figure it out. I don't want to pause recording. I want to stop sharing. I don't know how to stop sharing. So I'll just keep sharing. All right. Can you see this new that I'm back to the slide?
Yes.
Okay, great. But are there questions?
For the follow-on service project, is it kind of to promote the scholarship, or is it just to sort of promote the idea of study abroad and its value for students and things like that?
It's really both.
Okay.
So I think in the same kind of sentence, you can mention study abroad and the Gilman. I mean,
Oh,
you might say like, talk about the value of study abroad and the support of Gilman.
okay, sure. Yeah.
Good question. Other questions? All right, I'm going to go through these slides pretty quick because I think not everyone, if you're applying for critical need, then we can talk about this separately, or you can look on the website because they have very good prompts. But again, if you're going to apply for a supplemental part of the Gilman, you will have just a few, it's sort of one additional essay prompt. And so the questions for the language, the critical need language is what are your motivations for improving your proficiency? And then the second question is, what's your plan to develop your language outside of the classroom setting? And so that can depend on what you're thinking and where you'd like to go. The STEM supplemental is just asking about your related coursework. And so that might be a conversation with Sandy or Mark. Those are the instructors for the Costa Rica trip. And let's see if they talk about, okay, good. So we talk just a little bit overview of the essays. You really want to make sure you're answering the prompts. There is a rubric that the advisors who are reviewing all of these applications will look at. I don't have access to that rubric, but over the last number of years, because I've been a Gilman reader before, both Adrian and I in our office, who are happy to read through your essays. We've both been readers, so we are really attuned to what Gilman is looking for. Every single time we've done it, the rubric goes exactly back to the questions, those supplemental questions, not supplemental, sorry, the question prompts that are listed that we talked about that are on their website. So that is the rubric that the reviewers are going to be looking at. So you definitely want to make sure you answer those questions. If you leave any part out, you will not get a Gilman. That's just the way it works. So make sure you're answering all the prompts and that you're following the word limit, because your essays will get cut off if you don't follow the word limit. It says work with your advisor. Great. We are happy to read your essays. All you have to do is email them to us or make an appointment. But if you'd rather just do it over email, we're happy to do it. We can go back and forth and say, we want to see a little bit more of this. We want, cut this part out. It's always good to kind of just make an outline to answer each of the questions, like use each of those questions prompts to help you make some notes for it, and then just start writing. I know that applying for scholarships can be really overwhelming, but we're here to help you. So hopefully that it won't be too much of a challenge for you. And again, as long as you have a proofreader, there's the writing center, the tutoring center, an advisor that you are close with, getting feedback for clarity of your essays is really, really important. You think you're being clear, but they'll find repetition, or they'll find things that just aren't the most clear in your writing. And so really the three different areas that they look at for the selection criteria are the impact of your program. I apologize, my dog is going to bark because we're getting our mail right now. Maybe not. Okay, would be great. The impact of your program and destination on your academic or career trajectory, and those come from that first essay question. The preparedness for your program abroad, and then that third piece of representing America abroad and hometown impact, making sure you include that America 250 interesting piece. And if you do a supplemental question, then those are separate. You can still get a Gilman and apply for a supplemental, and you don't have to, they're not related. If you don't earn the supplemental, it doesn't impact how your regular Gilman is checked out. So a brief word about deadlines. So right now we are talking about the October 3rd application deadline. So all your materials do need to be in by October 3rd. And the advisor deadline is October 10th. So I will make sure that we have all of that done. Melinda's usually really on it quite fast. She does it faster than I do. And then notifications come out in December. There are some great resources. I think their website is really fantastic. If you have questions, the advisors do get back to students, Gilman at IIE.org. Interesting that they're including a phone number. But I think there are a lot of really good resources. These are for me. And let's see, I'm going to stop sharing. That essentially, I mean, I really recommend going through and looking at their website. And on the scholarship page of our website, I did include the different essay prompts, and there's a video on kind of how to apply, as well as the PDF that we created question by question, how to fill out the online portion of the application. So that's sort of the overview of the Gilman. The one thing I do like to mention to students is the more specific you can be in your essays when you're sharing your story, the better. You know, advisors get a stack of like 50, 60, 70 applications that they're reading. You want to be memorable. So the more specific and the more passionate you can be about your story, the better. You are here for a reason. You're at PCC for a reason. You want to go on this program for a reason. So don't be afraid to be a little bit vulnerable and share your personal story about how this program is going to be super meaningful for you. Um, you know, that's what makes you memorable. And so you really want to make sure to shy away from generalities. You might love the food of the country, and you might love like meeting new people and seeing new cultures, but there's got to be a little bit more than that. That can definitely be a part of it, but there's got to be a really deep, meaningful piece for you. And the more you share about that, the more memorable you are. And making that connection between this program and what you want to do is just, it's imperative. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, thanks. So are there questions that anybody has? I can also, I can shut off the recording, and if people have questions that they want to ask, not on camera.
Besides
I
this
go.
scholarship, are there other financial aid options?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes, so we recommend that you look holistically at your budget, at what you have saved. There are different scholarships. I really also recommend students look at the PCC Foundation Scholarship. I don't know if any of you have applied for that in previous years. The PCC Foundation raises millions of dollars for PCC students, and they have hundreds of scholarships. And it's not just for studying abroad. It's obviously like for going to school at PCC. We actually have a scholarship within the PCC Foundation that our office does raise money for, and we have it, but it's not that big of a scholarship. We wish it were bigger. But if you know $1 million donor that can help us, then let me know. But in order to apply for our scholarship, you do have to apply for the general PCC Foundation Scholarship, which I highly, highly recommend. And a secret is that if you create the essay questions for Gilman, you can use those again. There's no overlap in the readers for these different scholarships. So there's no reason why once you have a couple of really good paragraphs, you can't repurpose those, and use them again. There's no reason not to. So it's great to have a few of those. So I definitely recommend applying for the foundation scholarships because, again, hundreds of scholarships, including the study abroad scholarship. On our website, we do have some other scholarships. The Gilman is like the biggest that we know of. And you asked about financial aid. So yes, it is possible for you to use financial aid. Every person's financial aid package is different. So we recommend you talk, or we actually require it. If you're using financial aid, we are now requiring that you, if you want to use it, that you talk with a financial aid advisor because it's just plain confusing. And they've changed the rules, or not changed the rules. They are more stringent with the rules nowadays. So, like to Ryan's question from earlier about not necessarily needing this, like if a class is not a requirement, you may not be able to use financial aid for it. Now, actually, I take that back, Ryan. You did say it was a requirement, so you may be able to use your financial aid for it. But again, some packages, some financial aid is not offered for the summer, and all of our programs are summer. You need to be taking a certain number of credits that are to receive your financial aid, and most of our classes are only a 4-credit class. So that impacts how much aid you can get. So those are kind of some of the nuances that can be a little bit complicated, but talking it through with the financial aid office can kind of clarify that. Does that answer your questions?
Yes, totally.
Okay,
Thank
cool. Yeah, no problem. It's a confusing process, so we have many answers. Other questions that are okay for camera consumption?
Would you be able to spell the name of the specific financial advisor?